Welcome to Blue Talks.
Good morning. Now, what if I told you that in the time it takes to put your jacket on in the morning, maybe pour a glass of water and take a sip, or hail an elevator, you could change your state into a peak state to live, love, and lead in a peak state? More confidence, more resilience, more certainty. Would you be interested? Yes. And what if I told you that this can be accomplished by a simple body movement and can be accomplished in 8 seconds? Would you want to try something like that? Yes. Well, let's get started. Let's get started. So today we're going to talk about physical intelligence. Now we do talk about the IQ and the EQ, or the emotional intelligence, leading with empathy and serving others. This is the third intelligence, physical intelligence. So how do you amp up your IQ and your emotional intelligence? I believe you amp it up and you ignite it with physical intelligence, which we're going to talk about today. This puts you in a peak state for life and business. So physical intelligence is the ability to detect and strategically manage the chemicals that are already in our body. We own them, we have them every day. It's the ability to unleash those chemicals for good. What I call a dose of peak state chemicals, which we'll talk about. Dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins, and what they really mean when it comes to physical intelligence. So we have 4 quadrants in physical intelligence: strength, flexibility, resilience, and endurance. Those are the 4 things I want to talk about today to help you get in that peak state. And we're going to do some body movements and have some fun and release those chemicals, and you'll feel the state of this room change. I love doing this, so hold on, we're going to have some fun. It's all about unlocking your peak state. So we'll talk about the first one, which is strength, centered around the feet. Now, strength for a lot of people is how much weight can you lift, right? How much can you run? How many miles can you run? Those kinds of things. When you go to the gym, you think of strength. Well, in the PI world, strength is the ability to release endorphins, and that gives you the strength and conviction to overcome your adversity, overcome and go past your goals that you may have, giving you confidence and conviction and emotional stability. And this is done in the feet. Now, if you could stand up, if you're able to stand up, please do that, because I do want to activate the audience here, have some fun. So what we do in this is the winner pose. It's very simple and anybody can do it. So what I do is I imagine that, well, we're in New York today, right? So I'm going to imagine that I have just won the New York Marathon, which I'm sure I may not do in my lifetime, but let's just all imagine that we've done that. And we're coming over the finish line, and we're going to plant our feet on the earth, and we're going to put our hands up in the air, pretend there's a string in our sternum, and we are going to pretend that we have actually won the New York Marathon. The winner pose. Make the sound of victory going over that goal line. Make the sound of victory. Yes! Woo! Woo! And feel, yes. There you go. Feel those endorphins. Now, what you've done by doing this is you've increased your ability to take risk. Thank you. You can have a seat. You've increased your ability to take risk by 30%. And you've decreased your cortisol by 33%. The studies show this. The neuroscience backs this up. So we are on a seesaw of dopamine and cortisol. I'm sure we can all agree with that. And when we're in the cortisol fight or flight, what we do is we turn to dopamine. So today we're going to do a little bit different, a different twist. It's not Facebook likes, it's not likes on Instagram, it's not food or drink. We are going to release good dopamine later, and we'll get to that. It's going to be a lot of fun. So we're talking about releasing these chemicals in our body that are all here for us. It's all here. We get to make the decision to do that. And we can do it every day. anybody can do it. There's not a level of physicality that you need. And I can tell you that I first learned about physical intelligence when I was in London. I was there for an assignment for a multi-billion-dollar company out of California. And I showed up at the beginning of March. And stay with me, I know where you're going, of 2020. And 3 weeks after we got there, COVID hit. And I was in lockdown. I was in lockdown in my flat, they call it, in London. I was there for months and months and months, sometimes just an hour outside. And I had to find a way to lead that country over Zoom with just a little video screen, to be able to give them the energy and inspire them and lead with empathy and have all that happen so they could not just survive, but thrive. And when I got there were 4 leaders in 3 years. They were some amazing, beautiful souls there, but they weren't collaborating. They had a very low trust, and they weren't performing where I knew they could perform. So I was having dinner one night, across the table, and this is how the universe works. Across the table was the founder of Physical Intelligence Institute in London. And he asked me what I did, and I told him, and of course I asked him, what are you all about? What lights you up? And he started talking about the Physical Intelligence Institute. And it was within seconds that I realized the universe put us together, because those are the tools I needed to help me lead that country, to be able to lead it over Zoom and still have the energy that I needed. Sometimes 12, 13 hours back to back, day after day. So I used these principles that I'm showing you today. In fact, it was funny, my poor wife looking at me every day, all day, doing winter poses before I got on Zoom and hit the button, or doing the other poses I'll be telling you about today, just to make sure that I was ignited, that I could show up for my team and be a leader in life and business. It's very important. And these 4 quadrants of physical intelligence are so key to the success, especially these days, where we're all in fight or flight. That seesaw, we've got to get off that seesaw, and this is a good way to do it. So the next one is flexibility. So we talk about flexibility, it's how do we adapt in business, growth mindset, maybe that would be the words you could hear. So we want to be able to adapt to changes. In today's world, I call it the speed of life or business, we have to be able to adapt. So flexibility is very key. Now, we think of flexibility of maybe how I can touch my toes, which I haven't done since the 7th grade. I'm not going to try now. But this is something that we think about flexibility, and it's yoga or it's flexibility we see. In the PI world, it's very different. It's the ability to adapt to changing environments. And everything changes now. It's one thing we can count on. It's cliche, but it certainly still holds true. You can count on one thing, it's change, especially in business and, of course, now in life. So it's being innovative during that change. It's accepting that change, being flexible. So what we do here is we release serotonin. And serotonin is the feel-good hormone that's centered around the gut. And it gives you a sense of belonging, also happiness, and it also ignites cultures to be more collaborative. So when I bring this into the business world and do these kinds of movements, we have fun with it, but we also enlighten that chemical that's going to give them the ability to collaborate and work better together. So if you could stand up again, if you could. I know it's like being a Catholic in church. We're going to go up and down, but it's okay. So this is all about serotonin, and serotonin is centered around the gut, as I said. So what I'd like you to do is, again, get those feet planted on the earth, and we're going to have a little fun. It's called the serotonin twist. And all we do is twist our gut. And this releases serotonin. And, well, one thing is for sure, you can't really do this without smiling and laughing, which everybody's doing. And this really gets you involved and gets that serotonin moving through your body, gives you the ability to collaborate, be part of something bigger than yourself, and a sense of belonging. And like I said, there aren't many people that can't do this and not smile, so have fun with it. This is the serotonin twist. Fantastic, awesome. Thank you so much. So these movements are simple. So when I started to really study this, I said, how can I apply this? Am I actually going to do this in a meeting? Yes, I did. So I've been studying the neuroscience or neuroeconomics of leadership for over a decade. When I first started, this was sort of woo-woo, I would say. And people would look at me like I was a little bit crazy. But I said, watch me. this is going to be a different thing. This is going to be a competitive advantage in business and life. And that's exactly what it's become for me. Now I get to travel around the world and activate and ignite audiences with these practices and build cultures that are memorable, build cultures that are thriving. They're thriving. And that's really important to me, having 40 years plus in the high-tech industry as a sales leader and a leader in business. I want to bring that back, and I want to activate those teams. So I've been doing this and having a blast, so we're going to keep going. So that's flexibility. The next quadrant is resilience. Now, resilience means different things to different people. I know that. And we've all had our share of building resilience. We all have a story. My story is that I grew up with severe learning disabilities, and the fact that I wrote a book, you know, my friends back home, they all laugh and they say, Swymer, I don't know how you wrote a book, you never read one. But you know, the reality is that you break through those beliefs and you build resilience. Now later in life, dealing with addiction and conquering addiction, depression, and thoughts of suicide, to name a few. And of course, the big life event that catapulted me into this chapter of my life, when I lost my wife of 32 years suddenly to a massive brain aneurysm. That moment in time changed my trajectory in life. As you can imagine, it changed my perspective. But that resilience that I had built up through the years had helped me not just survive that event, but it helped me thrive afterwards. And I began to thrive again. I found love again, and I'm blessed beyond measure. And today, I have moved forward with my wife, Bonnie, and I live my life in tribute to her. And that's my why. That's what sparks me, why I'm bringing this to the world. So resilience is the ability to bounce back. It's the ability to bounce back even stronger with new purpose and new perspective. I read a Harvard medical study that was done in 2017, way back. We've been talking about this a while. And it said the lack of resilience can lead to depression, anxiety, and get this, even heart disease. So we know we need resilience. We know we need it. It's a good buzzword we hear all the time, but how do we build it? And this is a good way to build it. So what we do in physical intelligence to build it is we release the love hormone of oxytocin. And this is my favorite because I talk about how love in business is a competitive advantage. This is certainly one way to apply that. Oxytocin is a way to activate trust. It's a way to activate connection, the human connection in business that we need so much today and that we're lacking. You know, the pandemic really put us in a whirlwind where, hey, we don't even have to go to the office. We can work in another country. All we have to do is be on this 4x4 screen. And that's not a way to make a human connection. So it's really important that we release these hormones in the right way. So when I go in and activate, I activate oxytocin, and we have a lot of fun. So I'm going to have you stand up again. And we're going to do what we call the Kate Winslet. So everybody seen the Titanic? And the guys have to raise their hand. I know you've seen it. Well, look, if you haven't seen it, I won't spoil the ending for you, of course. But here's the important part. Oxytocin is something that can be released so easily. And it's something we can all do. Again, before I went on Zoom or before I go in a meeting, here I am doing the oxytocin I'm going to show you. And it's amazing how you feel that oxytocin going across your heart. And you're going to feel it right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to plant our feet again. We're going to pretend we're on the Titanic with Jack and Rose, and our hair is blowing in the wind. We're on the top of on the ship, right? You remember that scene? We're going to put our hands out and our head up. Pretend there's a string right in the sternum, lifting you to the heavens, and we are just going to enjoy that oxytocin going right across our heart, activating the love hormone, the hormone of belonging, the hormone of gratitude. Here we are in the Titanic, oxytocin running through right across our heart, and we can feel the love in this room for each other, the trust. It's a beautiful thing. Thank you. Wow. Wow. Did you all feel that? Yeah. It's powerful. Isn't it great that we actually own that? It's right here. We have the ability to activate that anytime we want. Again, you can kind of picture me in my flat. before I hit my Zoom button, I'm releasing my oxytocin so my team is ready to receive whatever message that I'm going to give them. And then I'm doing that as a servant leader with empathy to serve them, to go into give versus get and have that make an impact on their lives, not just their business life. I believe that the Physical Intelligence Institute and the principles behind physical intelligence allows you to lead the employee as well as the person. And that's what separates cultures. That's what separates what I say, you know the book Good to Great. I always think, well, there's great to outstanding. How do we get to outstanding? And these are the kinds of things we can do to get to that next level. And it's so cool to see how people get activated and ignited when you do this. More so today than ever. And I go back, I'm going to say it again. We want to get off that seesaw, that fight or flight that we're all on. Everybody. And we need to activate these chemicals to get off of that seesaw and enjoy the fact that we have everything we need right here, to activate and to put us in a peak state. And I say put peak state for life and business. And I'm really careful to say to love, to live, and to lead in a peak state. Because we have to get to a point where we have a human connection in business more than ever. There's a lot going on in the world today. There's a lot going on. And we have to be able to harness those chemicals for good. We have to help the people that are under our charge, in our community, in our church, in our family. And I hope that you can bring some of these back, some of these little things you can do around the table for dinner. Now, I will tell you that corporate America is waking up. I told you when I was doing this 10 years ago, people thought I was crazy. But now, Google, Microsoft, Zappos, they're all starting meetings with these kinds of activation. They understand the neuroscience behind this. Books like The Trust Factor from Paul Zak, a partner of physical intelligence, talks about oxytocin and the love hormone and what it does to people, how it activates them and changes their state. Now cultures can be collaborative. They can trust each other. They can thrive. Going back to London, one quick story. When I got there, they were broken. Some amazing souls, beautiful souls there. In the first year of doing these principles and showing up like this, we went from last to first. We were the top theater in the world. We had more people overachieving than ever before. This stuff works. It used to be woo-woo. It's not now. It's a must-have. And I think it's really important that we do that for leadership. So how do we define endurance, the fourth quadrant? Well, endurance is the marathon or the triathlon. How do we do that? Well, in PI, it's that dopamine. The dopamine for good, though. So what I don't want you to think of dopamine as those hits and likes in Facebook or social media or drink or eat. I go for Italian food. I grew up in an Italian neighborhood in Boston, so that's my dopamine. So I want you to start to look at it differently and build that certainty and sustained energy, which is dopamine. And you can do this naturally. And how you do this, my lesson to everybody, and I'll leave you with this, is that you make living in a state of gratitude non-negotiable. And when you do that, you release dopamine. If you're in a state of gratitude, you release dopamine naturally. So why not make that non-negotiable? Studies have also shown that if you're in a state of gratitude, the brain cannot process fear or anger. And I hate to tell you, but that's what we're seeing in the world today, a lot of places. So how do we live above that? How do we vibrate at a different level? We get in a state of gratitude, and we make that non-negotiable every day, which is what I do. It's really important. So rather than go to Facebook for likes or Instagram for views, try living in a state of gratitude. And it's so simple. It's simple. We can meditate, or we can think of things we're grateful for, and they don't even have to be that big. I do a 10-minute meditation in the morning where I just think of 3 things that I'm grateful for. It could be the wind behind my back as I'm walking on the beach. It could be my kids. It could be my wife. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be monumental. But if you switch your brain to a state of gratitude, that stress level goes down, that fight or flight goes down, and you are in a state that you need to be in for the day, which is a foundation for great great mental health. So I hope that I've imparted a little bit of wisdom today and had a little bit of fun. This is just kind of the beginning, but I will tell you that the results kind of stand out. So if you're wondering if it's still woo-woo, if you're wondering, well, is this really going to work? I say be bold, be brave, and be memorable. Because the results that we're seeing, the neuroscience behind this in the Institute, and the cultures that I work with and the companies and leaders that I work with, I'll give you a few stats. 62% improvement in brain power is reported back. Just after 3 weeks of doing physical intelligence, doing and activating these chemicals on a regular basis, living and breathing. 45% increase in quality, innovative ideas, innovation. That's something we see from the CEOs now. If there's empathy and they're authentic, they're actually seeing more innovation in their companies. That's something to pay attention to. 40% decrease in burnout. Burnout is rampant right now. It's a pandemic in business world. People are burnt out. I did a talk just last week and I said, hey, close your eyes, raise your hand if you had burnout in the last 6 months. Everybody raised their hand. It's real. Doing these kinds of movements, subscribing to something different like physical intelligence is going to give you that edge in life and business. It's important. 102% increase in energy. Well, hopefully you've seen a little bit of that. I like to be passionate and energetic about it, but that's the real deal. That's what people are reporting back. 102% more energy, so they can thrive, not just survive adversity that comes at them in life and business. 42% reduction in levels of stress. Well, we all want that. There's a lot of stress out there, and we're all kind of dealing with that. There's a great way to reduce your stress. The oxytocin, right? The serotonin, all these movements reduce that stress and give you an ability to live and lead and love in a peak state. So my message to you, my call to action, if you will, is to be bold, be brave, and be memorable. Not just to yourself, but to your family, your community, your church, your business. These are all important aspects of our life. So we live in a peak state. It's how we show up. Because we always talk about mindset. So my challenge to you is take it one step further. Not just your mindset, but your energy. And bring your energy to the people around you. And what happens is you vibrate at a different level. You're in a peak state. But guess what? All those people around you also come with you. And you get the ability to affect people's lives forever. I thank you for your time. I hope you learned something today. Thank you very much.